In my humble opinion, No Man's Sky has gotten a couple of numbers about its game wrong. For instance, its price and its Metacritic score. Snark aside, is the game simply too big? Let's pretend we're writing a design specification for No Man's Sky. Let me get out my trusty space pen. So, let's say 10 million people buy this game and play it for more than a handful of hours. How many planets do we want the universe to have for each player? 50? Maybe that's a bit too low. You'd have to spend as much time looking for an unexplored planet as you would spend exploring the planet. Let's try a different extreme, like 1 million. You'd be incredibly unlikely to find a planet that someone else had already explored. And all of the planets you explore, no one else will return to them. 500 sounds about reasonable. It's a big enough number that you can stray off the beaten path, but it's small enough that there's a beaten path to stray off of. So, 10 billion players, 500 planets per player, and we have 5 billion planets. That's a really big number. But the number of planets actually in No Man's Sky is 3.6 billion times larger than 5 billion. So okay, how big is that 18 quintillion? Well, let's assume something crazy. Let's assume that this game sells more copies than Minecraft. Let's say it sells 110 million. That would give us over 16 billion planets per person. So, what, you ask, is my point? Does it matter that there are too many planets in this game? Well, yes it does. One of the key selling points of this game is that I can land on a planet, I can name it, and I can name all of the creatures living on that planet and all of the plants, and so if somebody else comes along, they can see the name I've given to everything on this wonderful domain. Except they won't! Because there's so many bloody planets, the chance of anybody coming across any of your discoveries is astronomically low, let alone all of your discoveries or even a large fraction. Yes, people have come across planets discovered by other players, and players have even managed to attempt to meet up in the game. But the chance of this actually happening is incredibly low, and in actual fact it appears that that's what the developers were banking on when they quietly forgot to add the multiplayer features they promised.
You could encounter other players. The reality is, the likelihood of that is tiny, basically.
I'm not saying that the number in my estimate is the correct choice. What I am saying is that the developers of No Man's Sky don't appear to have made a choice, and 18 quintillion was simply a technical limitation, rather than an actual decision on what would make the game better. And that's just not a smart way of making a game.